Artifacts. I get a lot of questions about artifacts. I see a lot of questions about artifacts in the chat. So I wanted to make a video to kind of like a comprehensive guide to an approach to artifacts. What this video is not going to be is an overview of each different set. Really what more we're going to talk about is each different artifact and the types of stats that you can get on them, the types of substats you can get on them, so that you don't spend a lot of time looking for things that might not exist. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it. There's 6 pieces of gear that you can put on that are artifacts, and then there are 3 accessories, which we're also going to talk about. Now, the first one is a weapon. The second one is a helmet, if it'll ever load over. The third one is a shield. The fourth one is gloves, armor, and boots, okay? Now the top 3, your weapon, your helmet, and your shield. Your weapon, as a main stat, which is this stat up top, is always going to have flat attack. Now what I mean by flat attack is it doesn't have a percentage next to it. You see down here we have attack percentage. This is always going to be flat attack. Now in any situation where it's possible, attack percentage is desirable over a flat attack. Any time that it's possible, you want something to have a percentage rather than being a flat stat. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we progress. So weapon is always flat attack. Helmet, always flat HP. Shield, always flat defense. Those will never change. Every weapon you get will be flat attack. Every helmet you get will be flat HP. Every shield you get will be flat defense. It's these bottom 3 where things can start to change, and you can start to get a variety of different main stats. So if we just scroll through the things that I have, you see we've got an HP percentage, which I don't know why I have. Another HP percentage. We've got a flat defense, which absolutely shouldn't be here. And another defense. So I've got a lot of gloves I shouldn't have in an attack set, but that's not what this video is about. So again, down here are where things can vary. So percentage stats are always desirable. You don't really ever want to equip gloves that have a flat main stat. Armor, again, it can vary. And then boots, it can vary. Now there are some things that are exclusive to certain pieces. For instance, you can only get speed as a main stat in boots. You can't get speed as a main stat anywhere else. You can get speed as a substat on all the other pieces of gear, but as a main stat, only on the boots. Crit rate and crit damage percentage, which there are only percentages of those. Crit rate and crit damage you can only get on gloves as a main stat. You can't get them on any of the other pieces of gear as a main stat, but you can get it as a substat. On weapons, you can't get anything defensive in the substats. So no flat defense, no defense percentage. On shield, you can't get anything attack. So you can't get flat attack or attack percentage on a shield. You can, and it might sound like I'm throwing a bunch of things at you and expecting you to remember them. I'm going to pull up a graphic in a second that's going to show it to you, and I'm also going to give you the link to that graphic so that you can go check this out anytime you want to if you need it as a reference. It's also on the forum, but I also have a link that'll just take you straight to the image so you don't have to hunt it down. But on armor, you can get everything except speed, crit rate, and crit damage. And then accuracy and resistance, I believe, are exclusive to the armor. So let's go ahead and just pull up the graphic. I feel like it might be a little easier to go over. So this shows you we've got, well, I don't know if my mouse, yeah, you can't see my mouse anymore because of the way I pulled this up, but you've got your type of artifact, then you've got the primary stat, and that's this stat right here, whatever this is going to be. And then you have possible substats. So if we look at weapon, it's going to be flat attack 100% of the time. It'll never be different unless they change the game, and they won't. They probably will not change that. As a substat, everything else that's not defense or defense percentage. Helmet, HP as a flat stat, and literally every other stat, if I'm not mistaken, is a possible substat. On the shield, it's flat defense. Every other stat's possible except attack and attack percentage. Now the gauntlets, chest plate, and boots. That's where the real work comes in as far as learning all these things. So as I said, crit rate, crit damage are exclusive to the gauntlets. Then you can get HP percentage, attack percentage, defense percentage. So you can't get accuracy, you can't get resist, you can't get speed as a main stat. But all those things can show up in the substats. You'll notice on the substats for gauntlets, chest plate, and boots, it's all the same, and it's all of them. You can get them all in substats on those three. And then accuracy and resistance are exclusive to the chest plate, speed exclusive to the boots. So this is really important to know, because if you're trying to build somebody up and make them real speedy, and you're hunting for speed gloves, you're wasting your time, and you don't want to do that. And these are things that I don't believe are listed or made known to you in the game. So it would just be a lot of trial and error, or happening to see someone else say it in a chat if you're new to these types of games and you're not familiar with the idea of certain things being exclusive to certain things. As some of you may know, I came from Summoner's War, and there were certain stats that were exclusive to certain runes. You know, the slots 1, 3, and 5 were always flat attack, certain things, and it's the same principle here. So I was already kind of familiar with it. I just needed to know which pieces of gear served which things. So this will be very important for you to know as you progress through the game and begin to roll your artifacts up and kind of look for certain substats. Now, what I cannot find at this point is any numbers on the values of substat rolls. There are usually minimum and maximum values for substat rolls. Your main stats are always going to roll the same way depending on the quality. So 3 stars have a set roll for the main stat, 4 stars have a set roll, etc. The substats can vary, and I don't know the values, but I know that it changes based on the quality. So 3-star, 4-star, 5-star has potential for higher. I would assume, no, I'm not going to make any assumptions. I don't know the values, and I cannot find any documentation on it. And I would be hesitant to trust it anyway, because there's a lot of conflicting information on the forums at this time. And so I don't really know what to trust and what not to trust. So a lot of it I'm going to have to go in and figure out through trial and error. So I can't give you any info on the values of the substats, but I can tell you, according to this chart, where they'll show up. So where you could be looking for them and where you could be hoping to get them. Now you'll notice these artifacts have different color frames. So like let me get rid of this image real quick, and we'll come back and talk about accessories. You'll notice right here we've got like a gray frame, a green frame. Down here, some of them have blue frames, and then purple frames. Now, the same way with your champions, how you've got common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. That's the way that the gear is set up. So the difference is it doesn't have anything to do with the star value. So you can see we have a 5-star weapon, but it's only an uncommon. What this means, what the value of the weapon means in the sense of common, uncommon, rare, etc., is how many substats come preloaded on it. So if we look at a gray one, these gray boots down here, you notice there's no set substats already. So if we go to upgrade it, you see at level 4, level 8, level 12, and 16, we get a new bonus substat. So I'll show you what happens when we roll these boots up to 4. It is taking its sweet time. Okay, so we're going to get a new random substat. We got 7 resistance, okay? And when we rolled it up to 8, we'd get another new substat. Now, with an artifact with a green border, it's uncommon, so you can see there's a substat preloaded on it. So what'll happen is, when we upgrade this to level 4, rather than get a brand new random substat, we're going to upgrade the existing substat. And it'll roll, my guess would be 1 to 3, but that's speculation. So we rolled 2 speed. Now when we rolled it up to 8, we get a new random substat. Now, the reason this gets important is because you get a rare that has 2 substats already, or you get an epic that has 3 substats already. So what this does, the reason that this is so important is because it gives you an opportunity to roll the really good stats. So like this weapon had speed and crit rate in the subs, which would have been great. But unfortunately, I rolled it up to 8, and so far both of my rolls have gone into resistance. But you see, it's a much more powerful artifact because there's so much more potential. This potentially could have rolled 3 times into speed. So instead of a speed plus 4 substat, it could have maybe been a speed plus 16 substat, which is substantial, especially later in the game when every speed point is going to be crucial. Finding speed like that in your subs and finding crit rate in your subs of higher values than what you would get from an uncommon, where it just shows up for the first time at a low value, it's going to be a lot harder to compete or be as successful as it would with, say, an epic item. For instance, this one has 23 accuracy, so it's only a 3-star, but I'm going to have to hang on to it for a little bit because of that 23 accuracy. Accuracy is a very important stat in this game, so you need to find it where you can, depending on who you're building. So it's going to be, I'm going to have to hang on to this even though it's 3-star for a while. So as you progress through the game, you'll want to start graduating your champs off of the 2-star gear and the 3-star gear, etc. At the time of recording this, there's no 6-star gear in the game yet. There's no 6-star gear and there's no legendary gear. So that should be coming soon. I don't know, I can't speak to exactly when that's going to happen, but it is in their plans. You'll see in some of the loading screens there are pictures of 6-star gear, and they talk about legendary gear. So it's definitely coming. It's just not out at the time of recording this video. But if when you start farming your dungeons, you're going to see a lot more of these artifacts with the green, blue, and purple borders. So you're going to want to start to learn how to choose what's worth keeping and what's worth not. So for example, these boots, these are pretty nice boots. They're in the health, the HP set, and it's got crit damage and HP. So we've got HP percentage on boots in the HP set. So it's bonus HP for equipping the set now, because not only do I get HP for equipping a full HP set, now I've got HP in my substats on boots that already have speed as a main stat, and I've got crit damage. And as you can see, we rolled 1 each here. So that went pretty well. That's a pretty nice little pair of boots until they start releasing 6-star gear, and then these are going to fall off quite a bit. But as it stands right now, they're pretty nice. Here we've got HP and accuracy. So it's 2 substats. I don't care how they roll. I'm happy no matter how this rolls, because it's an HP set. I've got HP percentage as a substat, and I've got accuracy. These are both very important substats. I'm trying to find an example of one that I don't like, one that's not good. I've been cleaning out my gear a lot recently, so I don't know. Here's an example of one that's meh. Resistance 6, okay. Resistance is important, but in most cases you're not going to prioritize it. And then we've got flat HP. So we rolled some crit damage, and it's a crit rate shield, so that's cool. That's nice. It's a nice little bonus, but I've got 2 substats here doing me no good. See what I mean? So the more you play, the more artifacts you get, and the more that you build your champions and see how they're performing with what's on them, what they might be lacking. You know, maybe someone's got too little crit rate, so you'll know I need to find some more crit rate in the subs. But you don't want to sacrifice too much speed, and all these things will start to make more sense the more you just play the game and level up your artifacts and see how they roll and all of those things. Now, the accessories are similar in a lot of ways. They're a newer concept to me. Where I come from, there's just runes. There's just the 6 runes. So this is new to me, but it's so similar to artifacts, it's not that hard to get your head around. It's basically bonus stats. So there are rings, there are amulets, and there are banners. Banners you can only equip when someone is 6-starred and fully ascended. And I think amulets are 5-star, and I think rings are 4-star. Your champion has to be those ranks in order to equip the respective gear. So let's bring up the visual again, just real quick to talk about what's possible. Now, if you'll notice on rings, you've got a main stat, and then you've got substats, just like with artifacts. You can only get flat HP, flat attack, or flat defense as a main stat on a ring. this was good for me to know because I didn't realize that, and I asked around in the game a little bit and got a lot of different answers. I was told you could get anything as a main stat. Then I was told no, it was like gloves, and that certain things you could get certain percentages. But now that I've looked at it officially, only flat HP, flat attack, flat defense, and then again, you can get those three as substats, and you can get the percentage version of those. Another thing to note on artifacts and on rings is that you won't see a duplicate substat of your main stat. So for example, on boots, if I have boots with speed as a main stat, I'm not going to get speed in my substats. If I have gloves with crit rate as a main stat, I'm not going to get crit rate in my substats. So you won't duplicate a main stat with a substat. So that's important to keep in mind. Amulet, basically just like the ring, except you can also get crit damage percent as a main stat. This is really nice because in most cases, you're going to want crit rate gloves over crit damage gloves. There are some exceptions to this rule. There are some champions that have skills that will critical hit regardless of their crit rate. They crit 100% of the time. So that would be a time where placing crit damage there would be optimal. But in general, on attackers, you're going to want to go crit rate on the gloves. So this is really nice once you get them to a point where you can equip an amulet and you find an amulet with crit damage as a main stat, because this is a great boost to the crit damage without having to sacrifice the crit rate that you would have to if you put crit damage gloves as opposed to crit rate gloves. And then again, it's you can get all the same stats, but you can get percentage versions of HP, attack, and defense. You can only get flat. Then you can get accuracy, resistance, and crit damage as a substat. But again, the only way you're going to get crit damage as a substat is if you have HP, attack, or defense as a main stat. You're not going to get crit damage as a main stat and as a substat. And then for the banner, accuracy, resistance, and then flat HP, attack, and defense. Which again is also nice because accuracy and resistance as main stats are exclusive to armor, but there's going to be very few cases where you're going to want to do that. Generally, you're going to want to put attack or HP or defense percentages there. You're going to sacrifice a lot of whatever the other desired stat is to get accuracy or resistance, and generally it's not going to be worth it. Of course, there are almost always exceptions to rules like that, but in general, it's going to be a real bummer if you've got resistance or accuracy as a main stat on your armor. So this will be great when you get to a point where you have a banner that you can equip, because you can boost those stats without sacrificing anything else. And then on the banner, what's really great is that the substats can get really nice. You can get HP percentage, attack percentage, defense percentage, and speed. Now speed's going to be the moneymaker there. So if you ever get a banner with speed in the substat, it's a keeper. In most cases, it's a keeper. So I'm excited to find me some banners that have some good speed. But that's it. That's the general overview. As I said, I'm not going to go through each set and cover all of the types of... I'll make another video where we talk about the sets and what types of champs you could equip them on, and when I get into doing my individual champ build guides, we'll talk more about the potential builds that you could strive for. But that is pretty much everything for today. So I know it's a lot of information, and I feel like I was just word vomiting at you the whole time. So if you need to go back and watch this a few times, do whatever you need to do. I'm going to link to the image in the description, so you can head over and check that out. As always, if you have any questions about anything, leave them in the comments for me. I'm more than happy to help you. If you're pulling champions, if you're newer to the game and you're pulling champions and you want to know if they're good, ask me in the comments. I'll come back and give you a quick tip, quick build guide. I'll do my best to help you progress in whatever way I can. I also stream every weekday on Twitch at 6 p.m. Eastern. As of recording this video, that's my stream schedule. I don't know if it will change in the future, but I don't anticipate it changing. So if you want to come by and try to catch me live, you can ask me questions in the stream. We generally have a pretty good time. It'd be nice to have you. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. Hope it helped, and I'll see you guys later.